Cinema Savants, your weekly dose of movie news, movie reviews, and the occasional rumor. With your hosts, Todd Vandenberg and Rob Steele.
Yes, we're back again, and I'm going to thank you for letting us use that song that's in the background. I like it. It's a fun song. And actually, if you're curious, it's called Culture Vulture, which kind of goes along with everything else we do on this show. He's Todd Vandenberg, and this week I have decided to be Sigourney MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. Because that just it goes along so much better than... we could talk about the box office this week where Hitman's Bodyguard made a lot of money and Annabelle 2 didn't, and Leap I've never heard of, but apparently it was in third place. See, that's covered, and no, I don't care about any of those. I don't even know what one of them is. What was Leap? Do you know Leap?
Leap is oh yeah, that's an animated flick with about
that one.
It's about the one young lady who wants to be a ballerina, and blah blah blah. And it's got Elle Fanning, who is Dakota's little sister. Has Kate McKinnon
Dakota had a sister.
doing voice work, so that's pretty sweet. I bet she plays someone crazy.
Who knew?
Kate McKinnon's awesome, but not knocking Kate McKinnon. She's awesome. There you go. That's the perfect movie. Last week, Idris Elba in every movie, throwing Kate McKinnon. I want them to be in a team up. I want that right now. Idris Elba and Kate McKinnon.
Starsky and Hutch. They'll be in a new Starsky and Hutch movie. I would actually go see Starsky and Hutch with Idris Elba and Kate, and that's the only way I think I would go see the remake of Starsky and Hutch, or the reboot or relaunch, or it's a remake anyway. Yes, we'll get to that later. Actually, terrifyingly, but let's finish up. We started The Defenders last week.
We did,
and as much as we like to binge watch stuff, we did not actually get to watch. Either of us watched the entire series before the show started. We have now. Actually, I think we both finished, Sunday afternoon?
Yes, we did.
Last week.
We were racing.
We were, actually. We're sending texts to each other. Okay, I'm at this part. How about you? Oh, crap, you're ahead of me now. I enjoyed The Defenders. I think the choreography was considerably better as far as Iron Fist is concerned.
Agreed.
We had a great bad guy, but fell into almost... I'm hoping it's not going to be a pattern with the bad guys, because I'll admit, the Iron Fist series is almost completely purged from my head. But they did this in Luke Cage, so at least 2 of the last 3, spoiler alert, ye head bad guy, which is an actor that we've heard of before the series started, didn't quite make it through the whole series.
Yeah, typically the actor that plays the big bad is the most well-known actor in all of these Netflix series, starting with Daredevil when they had Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, which is awesome, and which hopefully we'll see him come back.
Season 3.
Yeah, it happens. I really liked The Defenders. The thing I liked least about The Defenders was Iron Fist. They made Danny less whiny, so Danny Rand was less whiny, and he could actually fight better, which is good. And I totally get making the Hand basically the big bad without going into details, which means Alexandra, who is the head of the Hand, played by Sigourney Weaver, and Elektra, who is the Black Sky, which is like the main tool of the Hand. And Daredevil has, obviously, that's extensive background with the Hand, with Elektra, etc. So it made sense for the Hand to be the big bad here. But you know what? I wish they had not gone in that direction, because it made it too much of an Iron Fist story, even with the tie-in with Daredevil. Because the Hand, their motives were kind of vague. I mean, we want to live forever. Okay, that's not vague, but the methodology and how it was going to affect New York and why it was going to destroy New York, they never even really bothered to explain it. It's just kind of like it's just there, and just for a show that had 8 episodes, to deal with. And as we said last week, they could have skipped the first one and just combined it into the second. They didn't do a good job of explaining that. So that's what I didn't like about the Defenders. Everything else I really liked. Daredevil was better than he was before. Jessica Jones was even better than she was before. Luke Cage, I can't say he was better because he didn't really develop that much, but he certainly didn't slip at all.
Just as good. Anyway.
Exactly. They gave more time to Colleen Wing, more time to Misty Knight. They tagged a few things which will happen in the future, which is very, very cool with some characters, and that's all I'll say. Overall, I really liked it. And especially, if you haven't seen it yet, and I'm sure it's on YouTube, but if you haven't seen it yet, watch all the way until the end of the final episode, past all of the credits, because there's a nice little teaser there for the next Marvel series, which is supposed to be out this year on Netflix.
Yeah, that's the part the only thing that really threw me off was that trailer that you're referring to is out. It's on YouTube.
Right.
Actually saw it before the Defenders came out, which was a bit weird. But what's throwing me off about that is that it is coming out this year. I thought it was coming out next year.
Yeah,
because we've already had the two. It's going to be this year, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, which it's not exactly a spoiler, but it doesn't show much. It's just a nice little teaser for Frank Castle, and just from the teaser and from what we saw of Frank in Daredevil 2, it looks awesome. So it looks like they're going to be back on track, which makes me very happy. Overall, I would say definitely watch the Defenders. Definitely watch the Defenders. And there's been a lot of talk about how they use color. The color palette is so different for each of those series. I mean, Daredevil's in reds, and Jessica Jones is in purples, and Luke Cage is in yellows. And they keep it up with the Defenders. When certain characters are dominant in the scene, that color palette is dominant, and it's really cool. It's just kind of in the background and kind of subtle, but I really, really like it. Yeah, I mean, I think they did a really good job. Honestly, I could have done without Iron Fist. Not that it's bad, but he just doesn't hold up. Even in the Defenders, he's still just not equal to the other characters to me. And partly it's because the way it's written, it's not so much the actor. He's just kind of a whiny little... He whines less, but I'm not really down with whiny superheroes.
No. He could be done so much better than he is, but you know what? He's not hideous.
Oh, no, not at all.
I mean,
it's not bad. It's
just adaptations. He's not Fantastic Four bad.
We'll get to some bad adaptations, but it's only in comparison to how well Daredevil has done, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, because those are so well written and those actors nail it absolutely. I mean, Charlie Cox, in about every other scene, he's feeling guilty about something, and he's supposed to, but he doesn't have... They kind of make Danny Rand is almost always whining or moping about something, and that's how it's done. Whereas Daredevil is not. But in scenes where he's supposed to be guilt, it's written on his face. He doesn't have to say any lines. Charlie Cox is awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I'm really looking forward to Daredevil 3. And don't be silly. They're not going to kill off Daredevil, so that's not a spoiler. So calm down. I didn't spoil a damn thing for you. If you thought they're going to kill off Daredevil, you think Superman won't be back in Justice League either. So,
even though he's on the posters now.
Yeah.
So, spoiler? No, it's not. No. But you that's a good segue though, because you mentioned DC, and DC was actually in the news quite a bit this week.
Yeah, they were.
Some of it good,
and some of it not.
We'll go with considerably less than good. I want to start with I think what is going to be a really great casting choice. Season 4 of The Flash, because DC kind of knows what it's doing on TV, not so much in the movies. The TV part, in the Flash series, Battlestar Galactica alum Katie Sackhoff has been hired on to be a character called the Blacksmith, who, if you watched Gotham, kind of like Fish Mooney, only an actual character from the books that people will like.
That's a switch.
I think it's a good idea to have an underground, black market character who does all the supervillain stuff. That's the character she's going to be. And I like seeing her on TV anyway. So, you like the
Good
idea?
news.
I like the idea. Yes. Let's see. Other good news. The Teen Titans series has another casting member. Although I'm not entirely sure I get this one. The character of Starfire, who, if you just vaguely know the Teen Titans, she would be the Tamaranian, the one with the orange skin. She's been cast by, and the purple
half costume.
Most of the time, half costume. There's a good way of phrasing it.
There you go.
Anna, and I'm going to mispronounce the last name, Diop. Diop? I'm not sure if either one is correct. However you pronounce Diop.
I'll go.
I'm not entirely sure she fits the character. And I apologize if this is going to come out making it sound racist or something, or colorist or whatever. She's a dark-skinned actress.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking that's going to mean that they're going to have to spend more budget on orange makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I think she can. I have no reason to think she can't do the role. I'm just being financially practical. I don't know.
I think DC can afford
DC
can afford the extra makeup based on what they made on Wonder Woman. so they can handle it.
There we go.
Hopefully she's the right actress.
I just noticed one other thing about her. This is the Teen Titans, and this character, this actress is 29.
Okay.
Question mark.
Yeah. Well, Starfire never seems. I mean, I know they're Teen Titans, but she never really looks like a teen. And are they all actually Teen Titans, or is this the older version of the Teen Titans? Are they all like in their 20s?
That has yet to be announced.
Yeah. So if they're all like the older version of the Titans, then it fits perfectly. And maybe she's like Tom Holland and looks like she's 15 anyway.
Could be. Other news out of the DC universe would be Gotham by Gaslight, which had a preview come out. And part of me is looking forward to this still. Part of me is not looking forward to it as much. Because they're doing it kind of similar style to Batman the Animated Series, but it's still drawn. It's like, you remember when they started Batman the Animated Series and they didn't really have a set art and animation yet, so it would change from episode to episode, and some of them were better than others?
Yes.
This is one of those episodes where it didn't look quite as good as the others, to me. So, already a little bit disappointed in that. The story is going to be awesome, which is, if you don't know the graphic novel, it's Batman versus Jack the Ripper way back when.
Which is very cool.
It is. It's a very cool storyline, but...
basically, as long as they don't have Barbara Gordon crushing crazy on Batman or have Harley Quinn being an out-and-out, close enough
whatever
to a sex worker. Yeah, then it'll be much improved.
The storyline, as I understand it, they did put Catwoman in it, and she does do kind of a... I'm not sure if she's in charge of a dance hall or a brothel or whatever, but that's the kind of character she's playing. But Selena Kyle fits a lot better than the other ones.
And it fits the storyline because who did Jack the Ripper prey on? Prostitutes. So...
There you go.
And if you're going to do this story correctly, there are going to be prostitutes, as opposed to just completely subverting characters. So that makes sense.
It fits. Something else that fits, that I'm going to say this is good news, but it's going to degrade into bad news soon. They've decided to do a Joker origin story.
Yeah.
As a movie.
That's not good news.
Now, one of the names I heard attached to this was Martin Scorsese.
Martin Scorsese is definitely attached to it. I don't care if Martin Scorsese's attached to it. We don't need a Joker origin story. If this is their means of divorcing themselves from the god-awful Jared Leto portrayal of the Joker, okay, whatever. Bring the Joker back in it. We don't need a Joker origin story. I mean, as I understand, it's he's running around and whatever they're going to call the character, if he's Jack Napier or whatever, being a thief and a criminal and blah, 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 and then at the end he turns in the Joker. Do we really need to see that? Do we not know that story? No. We don't. We need this story as much as we need another Batman origin story. I don't care if Scorsese is directing it. I think it's a god-awful idea.
Well, let's make it worse then. In order to make this movie, they decided to scrap the Gotham City Sirens movie, which was supposed to be Harley Quinn and Catwoman and Poison Ivy, etc. Except the next day, they decided to announce, no, it's on again, followed by a no, it's off again, followed by a no, it's on again. So taking a page from Justice League Dark, guess which movie I don't think we should talk about until they decide that they're actually going to, until it's in production.
Yeah.
I'm with Gotham City Sirens in that category.
And we beat up on DC, the film universe, a lot, which is fair because we really praise the animated division for the most part. You compare this to Marvel. Marvel had this thing blocked out, a decade ago? So they knew exactly where they were going to go. And they didn't know that from when they did Iron Man. I'm not claiming that. But once Iron Man worked, then they saw, hey, we can move forward. This is going to work. DC is well into what they should know exactly what they're doing, and they clearly don't have a freaking clue. Someone comes up and says, hey, it would be a good idea. Let's do a Joker origin movie. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's a great idea. Let's push this film that we've had in the books for, we've been talking about for 2 years. We'll just slide that one back because everyone wants to see a Joker origin story. No. I don't think anybody on the planet wants to see a freaking Joker origin story. I don't care if Willem Dafoe is playing the Joker, who would be awesome, although he's too old to play a young Joker. But, Ryan Gosling, he would be awesome. I don't care. I'm not going to go see it. Because I know the friction story.
There's other stuff that goes with this, though. The Batman movie that's coming out, they announced is not part of the DC Extended Universe. Until the next day when they said it is. And come on.
And is Ben Affleck playing Batman as of 12/18 Eastern? Or
he says yes.
And because just 2 days ago it was like, oh, it looks like he's really out after all. And then it was back in, and then there was the thing from his brother, and this, oh no, that's not true. And it's like, oh wait, it looks like Affleck's out. It's exhausting. Like you said, just wait until the movie comes out because DC has no clue what they're doing. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they shelve Justice League and push it back to summer of 2019 because they're not ready. They don't have a clue what they're doing.
Well, they did announce that they cut Lex Luthor's scenes out. So
that's kind of an important character to include, and then decide, it doesn't fit. Wow.
It's hard to tell.
It's as if I had written the script. That's god awful.
No, one of the things that people said was the saving grace for that Justice League movie was when they got Joss Whedon to come in and recut, redirect, whatever he's doing with that. But Whedon has gotten in some trouble this week that I have to admit I'm not entirely sure I understand. He was criticized by his ex-wife, apparently an architect named Kai Cole, who sounds like a DC character. Doesn't that sound like a... Anyway.
Yeah, she lives in Smallville.
Of course she does. She said he was a hypocrite for preaching feminist ideals while having an affair with whoever he could get in bed with, which I'm not entirely sure I understand that perspective. But this led to, what is the website that got taken down? Whedon fans or something, a big Joss Whedon website that was created around the time of Buffy. Whedon-esque, there we go, was taken down because of this big incident and horrible, oh, look at these terrible things. Do you understand what's going on with this? And is it really going to affect the DC movies? Because I loved the idea of him doing with as good as he did with Buffy. I'd love to see him do Batgirl that way. Let me rephrase that, because we're talking about him sleeping with people.
It certainly affects people who want to have a personal relationship with him, especially women, right? And I'm certainly not condoning what he did, but would you rather he held women down professionally and cheat on his wife, or would you rather? And I don't mean you personally, but people who might be outraged by, oh, he's not a feminist. What's more important to you, how he acts professionally or how he acts personally? As opposed to some sexist pig who's been married to the same woman and has never looked at another woman for 40 years and is a complete misogynist. Which is better for women in Hollywood? I mean, it's a pretty easy call. I'm not disparaging Ms. Cole for coming out and saying what she said. I mean, I totally understand her point. But overall, what matters more? That he pushes strong female roles, or that he cheated on his wife? From the professional standpoint, and that's what we're looking at. Obviously, it's more important that he pushes for strong female roles, pushes for. Don't know if he pushes for equal pay. That'd be interesting to find out. But he's, regardless of what he did in his personal life, I don't think he can say, oh, he's not a feminist. That's the part that threw me off is, I understand what she's saying. Yeah, completely.
Saying that he's, it doesn't make sense.
And I understand why she's saying it too. I totally get that. But as far as fans, they shouldn't. I don't see the point of saying, oh, I'm not going to watch anything Joss Whedon does because he cheated on his wife. I mean, if that's how you feel, that's your right, obviously. But I think that you're
going to be spending a lot of time doing other things than watching movies, because that happens how often in Hollywood?
Yeah, exactly. In that case, go watch a Michael Bay film, assuming that I have no idea if he's even married or whatever, but I mean, talk about a sexist pig. Go watch his movies,
Right.
No, thanks.
So moving on from Joss Whedon then, who did some really good stuff with Marvel's Avengers. See, segue to Marvel stuff.
Yes.
Although, unfortunately, it's Marvel stuff coming from Sony, who are doing a movie called Silver and Black, which is supposed to follow the characters of Silver Sable and Black Cat from the world of Spider-Man. They announced that the Green Goblin is apparently going to be doing a voiceover cameo in this movie that has nothing to do with the Marvel Extended Universe. Is that do we need that?
I don't know that we need that. I was just going to say it depends on who's cast in the role. And it'd be kind of hard to say, does the Green Goblin have anything to do with the Extended Universe, since they've rebooted it twice. And he's no longer with us in one continuity, but it makes no sense for them not to bring Green Goblin back. I don't really see the point of doing it in this film. But besides, are these even in continuity? What day is it?
No. Who knows?
Yes, they're part of the shared universe. No, they're not. According to Disney Marvel, they're not. As
opposed to the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie, where James Gunn said that the third movie is not just the capper of a trilogy, but it's setting up the next phase of Marvel movies to have them planned out for the next 10 to 20 years worth of Marvel movies.
Again,
there's planning.
Going back to DC's model of, I was like, guys, do we want Ben Affleck? Today's Friday. Let's flip a coin. And then Marvel is, and it doesn't mean they're not going to change the plan. Doesn't mean the plan is going to work. But they're planning. They have a map of where they're going and what they want to accomplish. Probably one of the reasons why Marvel's films overall have worked much better than DC's films.
You said, was it DC's model? DC doesn't have a model. DC has a box full of parts. And, the tube of glue is lying there and it's open, but it's all hardened and crusty now. The instructions are missing.
No kidding. Perfect analogy.
I think that, and unfortunately, that's the way it is. And the thing is, I'm to the point where I prefer the DC comics themselves at this point. But if they'd straighten themselves out, I'd love it. I think they could actually do better than Marvel's doing.
Well,
but that would require them, buying a clue.
They proved it with Wonder Woman. They just have to figure out.
Yeah.
Well, if they're smart, they say Patty Jenkins run the show. I mean, honestly, how can they look at what Zack Snyder has done with their properties and what Patty Jenkins did and still think Zack Snyder should be the one who's calling the overall shots? I completely don't get that at all.
Don't get that.
And yes, she only did it with one property, but Snyder's pretty much shown that he's uneven. Again, he's done some terrific work in the past, I think, and then he's also done some crap work. So yeah. If they had a clue, which obviously they don't, like you said, they've got the person there. Well, they don't yet because they haven't signed her yet. But if they were smart, they would say, "Please, you take over for us," or throw Joss Whedon $10 billion and say, "Hey, you take over for us." I mean, he's definitely in camp. So whatever.
Well, I mentioned James Gunn, who has done some. The Guardians movies were great.
Mm-hmm.
He's done some stuff that's not as such. And just getting off the comic book movies for a little while. James Gunn says he is going to be rebooting Starsky and Hutch as a new TV series. Mm. I told you it was going to come back in the show. Good idea, bad idea. It's supposedly a reboot. So
I expect it will be just as wonderful as Chips and Baywatch.
Ouch.
Regardless of James Gunn. It's Starsky and Hutch. I mean, it depends, obviously. I mean, James Gunn, that's a big plus. The casting, it depends on the casting. But, yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that. He also did a video short. Well, he was only a character in it, but Dolphin Man battles the sex lobsters. I'll have to watch that sometime. Anyway, I would rather watch that than Starsky and Hutch. I'll tell you that.
Well, and I'd love to see what they would do with the movie you just mentioned. There was a company called VidAngel who had a big problem with just about everybody. They were a video-on-demand streaming service that would take movies, and if they were R or beyond, or I think even PG-13, they would edit them so that they could be shown to kids, or I guess that was their plan. But they took movies from, Disney, Lucasfilm, 20th Century Fox, Warner Brothers, pick somebody. They've got their movies and made edited versions of them until the court said, the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said, no, enough of that. Stop. You can't do that. That's horrible. And I have to agree. What's did you see the picture they released with this though?
I did not.
Yeah, it was from Avengers 2, the part where everyone's trying to pick up Thor's hammer, and it's got a picture of Captain America grabbing Thor's hammer, but they've censored out the large part of the hammer, so he's just grabbing what looks like Thor's something or other. It's actually a very amusing picture. I'll put this on the website or something.
That is good.
Anyway, what's your thought on edited versions of movies and stuff like this? This is
edited by third parties. Yeah, not
by
so
third
cool.
parties.
Yeah, not so cool. When studios go back and do different versions of the theatrical release, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends a lot on whether the director is involved.
Right.
Like Payback, which I thought the theatrical. I don't know. They change movies up so much sometimes, and make really bad decisions. George Lucas, when they revamp films, even when the director's involved. I'm not really a big fan of that. I mean, if for the most part, if you thought it should have been in the movie, you should have done it right the first time. So, and granted, a lot of times that's studio interference, etc. But for a third party to come in and change it,
no.
Yeah, that's a big no. I'm shocked that it took more than like a week. Of course, that's the justice system. But yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Let's see, other quick news bits. Blade Runner 2 has a storyline now. Apparently,
nice.
Jared Leto's character is building a replicant army to take over from the humans, and it looks like Blade Runner 2 is going to be more action-packed than the first one. So, bonus points there. Because I keep falling asleep during the first one. I mean, no offense to anyone in it, but it was slow.
It is slow paced. I really like the first one, but it is slow paced.
It's good. It's just hard for me to stay awake during.
And by the way, it is Blade Runner 2049.
True. Well, I'm calling it Blade Runner 2, and they'll have to get over it because there's not 2048 other movies. Anyway, NBC says that they are killing off the reboot of Xena, which was supposed to have explored the whole Xena-Gabrielle romance thing. They decided that the whole lesbian thing was not enough of a reason to reboot the series. So
well, I would agree if that was going to be the primary focus, that would be kind of stupid. As part of the show, of course, absolutely, I have zero problems with that. But if that was the compelling reason they were going to relaunch it, then they made a good choice, because that's a god-awful reason to relaunch it. It's like, how many people are, wow, I really wish we got more into their relationship. I want to watch that for 10 years. No, not really.
That's where fan fiction's for.
Yeah, that's, geez.
So Xena's been cut from NBC. Yay. I'm not sure how to take this one, though. There's an actor named Michael K. Williams, who is in the upcoming Han Solo movie, where they've finished the initial filming, but they had to come back and do some reshoots. Unfortunately, he's off doing other movies and couldn't make it back for the reshoots, so they cut him out entirely from this movie.
I'm hoping that he was not that important a character.
I hope not. At least he's not Lando, I guess. That
would be kind of bad, wouldn't it?
That would. So we'll make of that what it is. Well, I guess we'll figure it out later, and when the DVD comes out that has the extra scenes that had him in it, I guess.
I do wonder how often this happens, because I've never heard of the gentleman. Doesn't mean anything about how good an actor he is by any stretch of the imagination. But I have a feeling, again, depending how important the role is, this probably does happen a lot. But because there are, God, how many sites are there about movie news? How many podcasts are there? I mean, there's tens of thousands. If this happened 10 years ago, who would have been talking about it? You might have seen something on IMDb, and that would have been about it, but probably not. Yeah, so I imagine this probably actually happens a lot, and it's just not that big a deal. It's unfortunate for him, obviously.
You mentioned IMDb. I was going to talk very briefly about how they're going to reboot Knight Rider with John Cena in the Michael Knight role and Kevin Hart playing Kit. But you know what? I'm going to skip that because it doesn't really need to be talked to because I really hope it never happens. I am going to talk about IMDb for a minute because IMDb put another ad in the background of their page. Again, this is only I've been talking about this for a month now. And, this time they put an ad in the background, and I recognized it was for Tom Cruise's Mummy. And it threw me off because that movie is not in theaters anymore. That movie is not available on Blu-ray and DVD. And so I wondered, why is this being shown? So I looked it up on Amazon, and the first thing that came up was the movie itself, not in theaters. The DVD, the Blu-ray. Oh, here's something. Fifth thing on the list. It's now streaming on Amazon.
There you go.
Amazon said nothing about it. IMDb said nothing about it.
That would be the place to put something about, it's now streaming, and put that on your ad.
Well, actually, the one they showed Thursday, I do not get this ad, and it's not up anymore, but I may have a screenshot of it somewhere. It was a black background, and on the left, there was a quote that said, and I'm going to quote here, shows that compassion and persistence can lead to hope and justice. An important movie that can't be missed. Van Jones. And this leads me to a couple of questions. One, who the hell is Van Jones? And two, what movie is he talking about? Because there is nothing left on either side of the screen.
Clearly, it's about the Knight Rider reboot.
No, it's... God, I hope not.
Yeah, it is.
But, that one annoyed me more than any of the other ones. That's a great quote.
At a guess, and this is just a stretch, I would guess it's about Detroit. Van Jones
Detroit had another one.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not about Detroit. Well, then God knows who it's about. He's a political commentator, writer.
Of course he is.
Yeah, that's... Again, going back to the pattern, at least half of their ads, they do that. They'll show quotes about movies. They'll have stills from movies, and then they don't tell you what movie it is or how to watch it, which is kind of odd advertising. Kind of odd.
Stupid advertising. No, quick thing I wanted to run through, too, though, because I saw The Mummy's on Amazon. It's streaming fine. My wife said she wanted to watch it. Here we go. Quick review of The Mummy. Starring Tom Cruise. Everybody, how everyone said it was horrible and it flopped in theaters and stuff. It wasn't horrible, but it had issues. Basically, this movie stars Tom Cruise as Sergeant Nick the Tomb Raider. I don't know that he has a last name. Opposite Annabelle Wallace's character of Dr. I Think I Know What's Going On, Jenny. And they're played up so much as basically Han and Leia from Star Wars, including the same dialogue. There's one of my problems with the movie.
That's kind of bad.
And just that the characters are so ignorant of what's going on around them. Because the first thing that we found the tomb, let's excavate the mummy and take her to London for no particular reason. They're surrounded by crows. Spiders are everywhere. There's sandstorms. You'd think someone would go, maybe this is a bad idea and we should put it back. Because they're good visuals, but I will admit that at places it looked like more of an updated version of the Thriller video. But for the most part, the visuals were good. Put the casket back. Everyone will be fine. No, got to take it out and take it to Dr. Jekyll, who's played by Russell Crowe. And he works for something that's somewhere between Torchwood and Hellboy's Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense. There was a very subtle thing in the scene with Russell Crowe. Yes, Dr. Jekyll, yes, there is a Mr. Hyde. Yes, we see him turn. This is not a spoiler. It's a common sense thing.
Right.
But there was one of those biometric handprint things to unlock a door. And he unlocks it fine as Dr. Jekyll. Once he changes into Mr. Hyde, it won't let him open the door.
That's cool.
That was cute. Even though there's not much of a change. My main problem with this movie was there was never really a sense of danger regarding Sergeant Nick.
That's kind of bad.
It's not the writing. It's not the acting. It's the casting. And let me explain that. It's because it's Tom Cruise. Yep. And Tom Cruise, I've seen Mission Impossible. He jumped off the Burj Dubai and didn't die. You know, that's Tom Cruise. There's no sense of danger for him. If it was, and I think this would have worked considerably better, if it was Sean Bean playing the part of Sergeant Nick. And well, I know that sounds funny, but it does make sense. If it's Sean Bean, he can pull off the same role. I think he could probably pull it off a bit better. And because it's Sean Bean, you know, it's kind of a 50-50 chance as to whether he's going to make it through the movie or not. So then you get more of a sense of danger. But as for kicking off the new Universal Dark Universal, whatever they're calling it, bringing back the monster movies, I suppose it worked because the ending doesn't go the way you think it's going to. I will give them that. So it sets up these other monster movies, but at the same time, I can see why people were disappointed in it, even though it wasn't horrible. Did that make sense? I hope that made sense.
It totally makes sense. I'm trying to think of the film. Now I cannot find it for some damned reason. That Steven Seagal was there it is. Never mind. Executive decision. He is ostensibly the co-lead with Kurt Russell, and something happens to the co-lead which you don't expect. That's one of the few times that you see something like that. Then probably they're not going to do that.
10, 15 minutes into the movie.
I'm sorry, what?
It was like 10 to 15 minutes into the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Just, bam, and you go, wait, really? Already?
Yeah, and that's a really good movie. But, I mean, that pretty much told you, okay, the stakes are kind of higher. This is more interesting. And they're not going to do that Tom Cruise, which is unfortunate. But it's rare that they'll have the guts to do something like that. And yeah, I totally agree with you. The casting, I mean, to me, you're making a movie called The Mummy, so why is the most important character not the mummy? I mean, I get you're setting up this shared universe and blah, 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 but you're kind of missing the point. You need to make a movie.
If you want to watch Tom Cruise get his ass kicked, he gets his ass kicked a lot in this movie.
That's good. But that's one of the reasons I like Live, Die, Repeat, which don't bother looking up for under the actual title because it's easier to find it under Live, Die, Repeat, which is the tagline. He gets his ass kicked a lot in that too.
That's true.
But that's one of the criticisms I've heard and haven't seen it, and I'm frankly not going to ever watch it. You've got to make a movie as opposed to something that sets up a bunch of other movies.
Make a movie unto itself. Yeah,
exactly. I have zero interest in watching it, especially when they call it a horror movie, and apparently
it's an action movie.
Ain't too scary. Yeah.
Sorry.
So makes no sense.
How was you mentioned you saw The Mist? Was that more of a horror?
Oh, it's horrible.
Just horrible.
All right. Horrible.
Oh.
We were talking about the Defenders earlier, and we mentioned last week and again how they really could have skipped that whole first episode and compressed it. The Mist is 10 episodes long. They could have skipped the first 8. It's based on a novella by Stephen King. It's about 120 pages, 2 hours screen time. And it's when I say it's based, it is loosely based. the movie The Mist, which is, God, I don't know, 100 times better, 150 times better. I'm not sure. It's loosely based on the novella, but it's much closer than this piece of crap is. God, there are so many issues with it. And for one, talk about slow paced. You would be, compared to this, you would be riveted if you watch Blade Runner again. I mean, I literally had to force myself. The only reason I didn't stop watching this piece of crap after the third episode was because I wanted to watch it, the whole thing, for the show. The 9th and 10th episodes.
Don't have to.
You got it. The 9th and 10th episodes are actually pretty good. There are exactly 2 actors who are worth watching in the entire thing. I don't know if it's because they can't act, because the parts are written poorly. Probably a little of both. You're supposed to feel sympathy for one of the lead protagonists. Her name is Eve. She is the character is terrible. You want this. You're supposed to be rooting for her, and you want her to die immediately because she's an awful person. And maybe this is part of the point. I don't think they're that subtle. I don't think they understand the concept of subtlety. She's a mess. Like I said, it's so loosely based on this. I mean, there's so many characters that do completely ridiculous crap that people only do in movies just to drive the plot forward. The Mist magically can't come in through doors, which aren't hermetically sealed. It can't come under a door where you can see the frickin' gap between the door and the floor. It's a mist, but magically it can't come through. Yeah, it's just utter crap. Do yourself a favor. If you really have to see the damn thing, start with episode 9. You'll figure out what's going on. And just watch 2 hours of it if you really feel like punishing yourself. But, and here again, going back to other Stephen King adaptations, some audiences, not us, suffered through The Dark Tower, which is an adaptation basically of The Gunslinger, and it wasn't even long enough. The Gunslinger is like 200-some pages, and they made an hour-and-a-half movie out of that, and threw in a lot of elements from the entire series. So you take this gigantic series and you pare it down to where it almost has nothing left of any of the nuance of the original books, and then you take a novella and you stretch it out to, actual running time, 8 hours, whatever, 8.5 hours. It's very much like Under the Dome, which I stopped watching after about 4 or 5 episodes because there was so much, let's pad out this 58 or this 48 minutes so we can get to the next 48 minutes, and maybe 2 important things will happen in this episode. It is a piece of utter crap. 10 hours I will never get back. Maybe a little less than 10 because I fast-forwarded through the commercials.
There you go. Well, let's go to something that's a little bit better, although it might not be.
It has to be. Am I getting a root canal? That's better.
Hey, the BBC released a list this week of the 100 greatest comedy films. And when this came out, I looked at it and I said, boy, there's some stuff missing. And there's some stuff that just doesn't make sense to be on this list. I think the biggest one, and both of us said this, what the hell is Pulp Fiction doing on this list?
Pulp Fiction, the number 46. 46 best comedy of all time. If it's a comedy, if it's a comedy, why is it 46? It should be among the top 10. If it's a comedy, it's not a comedy.
I don't know
guys.
that it is.
It's not a comedy. I'm just saying the movie is so good. Why would it be in the middle of the pack of anything? It's not a comedy. Yeah, it has some funny elements, but it's not a dark comedy. Oh my God.
There's some stuff that on here, like the movie Top Secret threw me off. Because I remember that movie, a lot of people going, why would anyone bother to watch this again? I said, maybe there's a Val Kilmer fan that wanted Val Kilmer on this list. And I'm thinking, if you want him on the list, put Real Genius in, because that movie was a lot funnier.
Real Genius is an excellent movie. Top Secret.
I thought it was too.
Do not get the inclusion of Top Secret at all.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I know it's down on it's number 82 on the list.
Yeah, it should be 800.
It's above
maybe.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, again.
Yeah, how is Ghostbusters 95 on this list behind the South Park movie?
Here are three movies. Number 94 is Rushmore, which is an amazing movie. Ghostbusters is 95. Born Yesterday is 96. And throw in the Music Box, which is probably the best representation of Laurel and Hardy. Really? They barely make the list. And Top Secret is way up there. And
there's something about Mary.
Jeez, you know, as you said in pre-pro, comedy is very, very subjective, and we have our lists, our personal lists, and if we did the show at 2 o'clock today, it would probably be somewhat different. But here's a movie, number 34, Clueless. Absolutely belongs in the top 10. Well, not top 10, but it belongs on the list somewhere, as far as I'm concerned. But a lot of these choices, yeah, absolutely Clueless.
See, actually, the two movies that I think are absolutely need to be on this list. Drop the less part. Why is Clue not on this list? Because comedy, great, it had a great murder mystery thing going with it too. But yes, it is a hilarious comedy. And this came from the BBC.
Yeah. Who's
the main character in Clue? Tim Curry, who's British. Why is that not on this list? And the other one that I would love to see on this list is, and it's something my daughter made us watch again yesterday because she says it's the funniest movie she's seen. Support Your Local Sheriff.
Another
which is really weird. Neither of us are really big fans of watching, that kind of comedy. Neither of us are into westerns. Both of us love that movie. Go figure.
That's a funny movie, and it's a funny performance, James Garner. Instead of Clue, I would go with Murder by Death, which is not in my top 10, but it reminded me of Murder by Death, which is another hilarious film, which absolutely belongs in the top 100, along with Clue. I agree, compared to some of these just inexplicable choices.
So yeah, there's that. I had a list of some other movies that I'm thinking, just to bounce off you, should Ferris Bueller be on this list?
On the top 100? Oh yeah.
I think it would top 10, but yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I would go top 10, but again, at 2 o'clock this afternoon, I might say top 10, but on top 100, absolutely.
Absolutely. How about Beetlejuice?
Oh my God, Beetlejuice is not on this list.
No, I don't think it is. Let me check again.
I've got it in front of me, and it's not on there. Yeah, and Beetlejuice could certainly be a top 10, let alone a top 100. And it's like, okay, well, you got to kick something off, but there are plenty to throw out, like Top Secret.
Yeah. Would you put, and these are my questionables, would you put Roger Rabbit on this list?
I don't know if I would put it on the list. I mean, I can certainly see the inclusion of Roger Rabbit, and I can also see, well, you can say, well, it's not a comedy; it's an animated. It's not really animated. It's a great mix of live action and animation. I can see it in its inclusion, but I could also see, well, okay, he didn't quite make the cut. Again,
right.
But it's a heck of a funny movie.
I'm going to leave you with this one because I know you've got a list. Would you put Red on this list? I know we've talked about that movie briefly. I liked it. I thought it was funny as hell.
I don't know.
See, there we go. We'll come back at 2 o'clock and find out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm going to go for and again, this is just like right now. My number 10 is Big. My number 10 is Big, which isn't on the list somehow.
Wait, Big was... Holy crap, it isn't, is it?
Didn't see it on the list. How
It's
big
not there.
is not on the list? It is beyond me. This is going a little far afield. It's Punch Drunks. It's one of the early Three Stooges comedies. And, yeah, it's 17 or 19 minutes long. I get that they're going for full length, but the Three Stooges are like a seminal part of stupid comedy. Without Three Stooges, there is no Airplane. You know, I mean, and on and on and on. So, and Punch Drunks is the one where Curly is a prize fighter and has the famous line of...
They have to get the music box thing going.
Exactly, and Larry is running all over town trying to get a violin so he can play Three Blind Mice. And when Curly hears Three Blind Mice, he goes, "Mo, Larry, cheese," and he demolishes everything in front of him. It is. I can't even think about it without laughing. It's completely awesome. Number 8 for me is Blazing Saddles, which is on the list.
That is on the list.
It's 20th. Number 7 is The Nutty Professor, which is on the list, which I think is very underrated. To me, Jerry Lewis, and this is why the French loved him, because he completely turns the concept of what's good and bad on its head. Because the bad guy was the handsome, suave Buddy Love, which was basically based on, from everything you read, Jerry Lewis's own character, which is pretty cool. Number 6 is Duck Soup, which is actually number 5 on the list. That's probably the best Marx Brothers comedy. I've got Groundhog Day at number 4. I'm sorry, I've got Groundhog Day at number 5. My bad. It's number 4 on their list. I bumped Caddyshack up. Caddyshack is 65th for some ungodly reason on this. I moved up to number 4. Then I got Young Frankenstein, Bringing Up Baby, which is the classic screwball comedy from the 30s. It's amazing. And then my number 1. Well, actually, your number 1, sir. You have one for the moment?
I have met so many that...
Yeah.
I'm coin tossing between Support Your Local Sheriff and Clue at the moment, but that could change by, come back to me in 10 minutes.
I was going to say by the end of the show. My number 1 is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I
can see that.
All of these movies. God, I have probably seen the let me think, 15 times maybe. Yeah, I would say at the least. I've seen all of these movies literally 15 times. Some of them maybe.
Oh yeah.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail, I probably have probably seen the damn thing 30 times, and it just getting funny.
I did 30 times just my senior year in high school. Come on.
So, and that's the thing with.
It was almost a weekend. It was a weekend ritual movie.
Yeah, and that's
it's Saturday, therefore I must watch Monty Python.
Yeah, and that's the hallmark of a good film. It gets better every time you watch it, as opposed to, it's like, I'm not so much into that movie.
Knight Rider.
Yeah, definitely. Although, instead of Kevin Hart, I would want Gilbert Gottfried to be the voice of Kit. Then I would watch it.
Oh, good Lord. There have actually only been two bits that I've liked Gilbert Gottfried in. One, and actually...
He's in your favorite movie.
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop. And Beverly Hills Cop 2. And I actually thought 2 was better than the first one, but neither of those is on this list.
Nope.
There's another one that I guess we have to look up.
And, if we did a 3-hour show, we would continue to come up with, this movie. Because, Beetlejuice, when I think about it, Beetlejuice might knock something out of my list. Because, it's been 8 minutes since I first started talking about it. There are just so many excellent comedies out there. Overall, this is not a bad list at all. That the BBC came out with, but there are some pretty inexplicable inclusions. Just because they're not good movies, but because really, is that a comedy? Well, okay. There's something about Mary, and I know a lot of people love it, but no, it's a one-joke movie.
I know there's a big difference between British humor and American humor, and maybe that's where the Pulp Fiction thing came in. But
maybe still very, very, very odd.
Very strange inclusion.
And
anyway, dude, did I say conclusion?
Very few British movies here.
Actually, that is also true.
Like virtually none.
Very strange.
As I'm flipping through. Anyway, you did say conclusion.
I think I did, because I've run out of stuff.
I've run out of stuff.
Hast thou any more this week?
I hast not.
Good night, everybody.
Ariel! Upa! Ride!
Do you think they will let me live in Montana?
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, I drank what?
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful.